Hi everybody, today I'm going to be cutting a key for a VF Commodore 2014 model, a HU100 blade. We're using the Key Baby machine. So the first step is turn the machine on, obviously, and then you will have some important hints. Please read the hints. Select Red Finished, and then from the main menu we're going to go to Vehicle. From Vehicle we're going to type in Holden. So H, first option that actually comes up is Holden/H. We're going to select that. We're going to select Holden. From there it's going to show us all our keyblades that we have available in the Holden section. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a HU100 keyblade. On here it's called HU100 T12. That's the T12 is the transponder that's compatible with this vehicle as well. So we'll select HU100. It's going to bring up a nice key diagram of what a blank key will look like, not cut with any actual cuts. We have a couple of options on the screen. We can key decode, key cut, key query, and the back option obviously. And then down the bottom we have input biddings. So if we were to manually input the key code or manually input the actual cuts, we could select 1, 3, 4, 3, 2, 2, and create the actual key that way. But for this purpose we are actually going to decode an existing key. So first thing we'll do is we'll lift up the visor. We're going to use the number 2 jaw as it says on the actual tablet. It says to use number 2. So we're going to insert the vise. Make sure the vise is all the way on, obviously. The next step is you're going to lock the vise in. So this little lever here will actually lock the vise. Push it all the way in. Lock the vise in nice and tight. Make sure it is in there. The next step is we're going to insert the key that we wish to decode, being the original. So I'm inserting the key and sliding it all the way up to pretty much where it stops on the head of the remote, but also to make sure that it is back behind this guide line here. So we'll tighten up the vise with this screw. It's in there nice and tight, obviously. Once again, the vise is nice and tight as well. The next step is we're going to put down the shield and we're going to select Key Decode. We're going to lift this shield back up so you can actually see what's going on as well. It's going to go through and do initial tracks of the key. Alrighty, so the machine's indicating to us that it's actually finished the decode. So as you can see, it does actually give you a lovely diagram and a bunch of bitting depths, and then it also gives you the actual measurements of the bitting depths as well. So if you were to take the original key and have a look at the original key to the new one, now it will be very hard to see on this camera, but as you can see, the cuts do match up. The diagram is almost perfect. The only thing I do have to say is at the end here, it's just a little bit of a different angle actually at the very first cut. So the next step is we're going to insert a blank HU100 keyblade. So we'll lift the screen up, we'll insert the keyblade, and once again you can put it quite far in, but you do want to stop before this ridge line here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but pretty much if I use this piece of paper, you want to stop before there. Alrighty, so the new keyblade is in there obviously. Once again, the vise is nice and tight. The jaw is clean. I have cleaned this previously to the filming, so make sure your vise and jaw machine in general is nice and neat and tidy. I'm going to close the shield down, And then on the option up here you have the cut button. So we're going to select cut, and it's going to say what it's cutting. Obviously it's going to give you some more information, and this one you want to go enter, and it's going to start to do its cuts. Just while we're waiting for the machine, this Key Baby machine works directly off 12 volts as well, so it can run off a cigarette lighter. You can do this key while you're inside the vehicle. Once again, it's going through and tracking the actual key, making sure that the parameters are correct. It's going to go through and tip stop the key to make sure it gets all its spacing information correct. And now it's going to go through and start doing the external outlay cutting. As you can see, the machine is quite fast. Now, I do have the shield up, I know, but I am, and the person filming, we are both wearing safety goggles for this particular example. We are doing this to show you what can be done with this machine. Alrighty. Alrighty, so it's now finished cutting the first side of the key. As you can see, there's a fair bit of swarf in there, so we really do want to make sure we clean that off quite nicely. Just brush it all to the side, off the vise. Now, alrighty, so I'm going to actually remove the key one side that we've just cut. As you can see, I don't know if you can catch it quite on the camera because of the light and the angles there, but we have now a key, complete duplicate of this existing key. So we're going to clean this vise off a little bit more just to make sure that there's no extra swarf kicking around. Once again, this machine does rely on electroconductivity, so if your machine is not clean and the probe/cutter comes down and touches a piece of swarf, it will not find its correct measurements and it will pretty much go back to a neutral position like it is now. So you want to make sure that you really do clean your machine. The next step obviously is I'm going to cut the other side of the key. So we're going to insert the key once again to about the same position. Nice and tight on the vise. Just finger tight, you don't have to go maniac with it. We're going to close this down, we're going to hit enter to cut the next side of the key, and it is now going to start cutting the second side of the key. Once again, do not have the shield up unless you're wearing safety glasses, and even then you do run the risk of actually getting swarf in your hands and so forth, so be careful. The unique thing about the Key Baby is that it uses the cutter and tracer as one, so its actual tracing probe is also the cutter. Alrighty, so it's now finished cutting the second side of the key. We're just going to clean a little bit of this off quickly. We're going to remove the key from the actual vise once again. Slide it all the way up. Now, that is a exact match for the existing key that we were cutting from, so that's absolutely perfect. And another thing I will say about the Key Baby is that because they use such a fine milling cutter upon cutting, it actually leaves you with minimal excess swarf on the key. There's very few burrs on it. There's pretty much nothing. I would literally clean the key up a little bit, and that would be about it. This key is ready to use. Thank you very much. Alrighty, so we have our original key here, and this is our key cut by the Key Baby. Now we're going to put this new keyblade into a JMD Super Chip remote. So, not securing it, just placing it in there for now. So first thing we want to do is obviously test our new key, make sure it works, which it does, quite nice, very nice. We're going to remove that and make sure the original obviously still works, same. Perfect. So the next step is we're going to clone the transponder chip. This is an ID46, a GM ID46. So in our lovely Handy Baby kit here, we're going to be using our Handy Baby 2 and JMD high power antenna to collect the information from this vehicle. So the first thing we'll want to do is we want to turn the device on. So the device is booted up, we want to plug in our high power antenna, and then we're going to select RD and CP for read and copy, insert the original key into the coil. It has now ID'd the key, obviously. The next step is to go OK to decode. We're going to select Handy Baby 1, and you want to make sure you get your red LED on your high power device to make sure that it is collecting from this antenna. The next step is to decode the information as we normally would. So as you can see, I have the Handy Baby pretty much just inside the car. I insert the key into the ignition, I turn the key, it successfully has collected the information. I'm going to remove the original key, put it back into the coil to finish the decoding process. We're going to use offline for this one. It is going to take a little bit of time. As you can see, when it hit 4%, then you now have the option to go back. That means if it's taking too long or something's not right, you can go back then. Do not remove the key while it's in those first couple of steps, because if you do, you could damage the key. Going to point out as well, using the JMD high power antenna makes collecting data very easy. Not so prominent on this vehicle, but some of the European vehicles have very low power antenna coils, and it makes it very difficult to get a read on them. So as you can see, it's successfully decoded, and it says to place into JMD 646 chip, King chip or Super chip. So we're going to be using a Super chip remote for this purpose. So once again, we have the JMD Super chip remote. Going to insert it into the same coil and hit OK to copy. It has copied the information to this chip now. We're going to put down the Handy Baby. We're going to actually start the vehicle with our new Key Baby cut key and our Handy Baby clone transponder. And then we'll just make sure the original key works as it should. Original key. Work perfectly.